History of the birth of the computer inspired by the French textile industry. Let's rewind back to the early 1800s. Charles Babbage was a brilliant but eccentric English mathematician. In the 1830s, he dreamed up a machine he called the analytical engine, a massive steam-powered mechanical computer. Unlike simple calculators, this device was designed to handle general-purpose calculations. But where did he get this idea? Babbage was inspired by the Jacquard loom, a French invention from 1804 that used punch cards to automatically weave complex textile patterns. Instead of a person pulling levers by hand, the loom followed instructions encoded on stiff cards with holes punched into them. This was essentially programmable automation. Babbage saw this and thought, if punch cards can guide a loom to weave fabric, why can't punch cards guide a machine to weave numbers? Punch cards were pieces of stiff paper with holes punched in specific patterns. Each hole represented an instruction or a piece of data. By feeding a stack of these cards into a machine, the operator could tell it exactly what to do. This is exactly what inspired Charles Babbage in the 1830s. When he designed the analytical engine, he borrowed Jacquard's punch card system. Instead of weaving silk, Babbage imagined weaving numbers. His engine would read punch cards and follow the instructions to carry out calculations step by step. That's the birth of the computer. Now let's introduce Ada Lovelace. Ada was the daughter of the poet Lord Byron, but unlike her father, she was fascinated not by words but by mathematics and science. In 1833, at a party in London, Ada was introduced to Babbage by her tutor, Mary Somerville, who was one of the great science writers of the time. Ada was only a teenager, but she quickly grasped Babbage's vision. A few years later, Ada translated an Italian paper on Babbage's analytical engine. But she didn't just translate it. She added her own extensive notes, which ended up being 3 times longer than the original paper. Inside those notes was something revolutionary, the first published algorithm intended for a machine. An excerpt from a letter.
I will send down before tomorrow evening Brooks' formulae. I also the reports of the Royal Society on your machine. I suppose you can get it easily, and I particularly want to see it before I see you on Wednesday morning. It appears to me that I am working up the notes with much success, at least even if the book be delayed in its publication, a week or 2 months. Mr. Taylor's while to wait. I will have it well and fully done, in truth at all. I want to put in something about Bernoulli's numbers in one of my notes, as an example of how an implicit function may be worked out by the engine without having been worked out by human head and hands first. Give me the necessary data and formulae. Yours ever, A.A.L.
But her foresight went even further. Ada realized that the analytical engine wasn't limited to arithmetic. She wrote that one day such a machine could manipulate symbols, not just numbers, meaning it could create music, generate graphics, or even explore patterns of thought. In the 1830s, she essentially predicted modern computing and even aspects of artificial intelligence. History of Computers, Episode 2, Punch Cards and IBM, 1890s to 1930s. After Charles Babbage's analytical engine and Ada Lovelace's breakthrough ideas, the next leap forward came not from theory, but from necessity. By the late 1800s, the U.S. population had exploded. The 1880 census had taken nearly 8 years to complete by hand, and the 1890 census threatened to be even worse. In 1890, a young engineer named Herman Hollerith introduced his tabulating machine. Using punch cards to store data, his invention allowed census workers to process millions of records in record time. What once took years was reduced to just 2 years. This was the first large-scale application of automated data processing and the birth of a new era. By 1896, Hollerith founded the Tabulating Machine Company to commercialize his system. But he was not alone. Other firms were developing business technologies like time clocks, recorders, and industrial scales. In 1911, financier Charles Flint merged 4 of these companies, including Hollerith's, to form the Computing Tabulating Recording Company, or CTR. In 1914, Thomas J. Watson Sr. joined CTR as general manager. With his relentless drive and his famous motto, THINK, Watson transformed CTR into a disciplined, ambitious company. Finally, in 1924, CTR was renamed International Business Machines, IBM. Throughout the 1920s and 1930s, IBM dominated business data processing using punch card systems to serve governments, banks, and corporations across the world. By the 1930s, the punch card had become the symbol of modern information management. And as the world moved closer to war, the next chapter of computing was about to begin. Electromechanical and electronic machines built to serve entirely new purposes.
Episode 3: Turing, Enigma, and the First Computers. World War II brought terror to the seas. German U-boats hunted Allied convoys in the Atlantic, sinking ships loaded with food, weapons, and fuel. Britain's survival hung in the balance. The Nazis' advantage came from the Enigma machine, a cipher device that scrambled messages into codes with billions of possible combinations. Each day at midnight, the Germans reset the machine, making their communications seem unbreakable. At Bletchley Park, Britain's top-secret code-breaking center, mathematician Alan Turing faced the impossible task of breaking Enigma. The British held one crucial advantage: captured Enigma machines taken from German vessels, which revealed how the system operated. Combined with intercepted messages, this knowledge gave Turing the foundation he needed to design a machine to fight a machine. That invention was the bomb, an electromechanical computer that used logic to eliminate false settings and uncover the daily Enigma key. With it, the Allies could read German naval orders in time to act. Convoys were rerouted, U-boats were hunted, and the tide of the Atlantic began to shift. The intelligence was codenamed Ultra, and historians believe it shortened the war in Europe by 2 to 4 years. This secret work at Bletchley, later dramatized in the film The Imitation Game, showed the world what Turing had long imagined: that machines could do more than arithmetic. They could be built to solve problems and even think. And Bletchley didn't stop there. Later in the war, engineers built Colossus, the first programmable electronic computer, to break another German cipher. Bomb and Colossus weren't just wartime tools, they were the birth of modern computing.